And this particular speech is creating effective visual aids. The purpose of the speech is to practice selecting and using a variety of visual aids during the speech. Choose a speech topic that lends itself well to using visual aids. The time for this speech for our timer is 5 to 7 minutes, and the title is Props. And we will be doing a round robin evaluation in the evaluation portion of the meeting. So let's all welcome and enjoy Anne Burrows with her speech, Props.
Hello, Toastmasters, and welcome guests. Today, I'm going to talk about props. Now, the word prop is actually short for the word property, and it represents anything that a speaker or entertainer uses to enhance their words. It can be something they actually physically carry up to the stage, or it could be used, you could use something that's already on the stage. About 10 years ago, in one of my clubs, a gentleman walked up to the front to give a speech, and there was a table set up. He climbed up on the table, sat cross-legged, and then looked up. He was depicting himself as a small child on Christmas morning, looking at the Christmas tree. Now, this speech was given over 10 years ago, and I can remember that image like it was today. So when we can create images, we can help our audience remember what we have to say. We've probably all heard the statement, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, we can create pictures by our gestures and by using very helpful props. So what are some of the other reasons you might want to use props besides engaging your audience, helping them to remember? It can also add interest to your speech. Another thing it can be very helpful is especially with brand new speakers. I know that most of us, when we first started, when we stood in front of the whole room, we were shaking in our boots. So if you have a prop, it can actually buffer the energy between you and your audience. And another wonderful way that props can be used is to help a new person or people who've been around for a while to remember what they want to speak about next. In a good 5 to 7 minute speech, there's usually a good strong opening, a good completion, and then 3 or 4 points. So if you happen to have a prop for every point that you have, it will help you to remember what it in transition into the next section of your speech to help you remember your speech. It also helps your audience to remember as you're going along. Let me give you an example. I have 3 hats here that I'm going to use as a business person to explain about my business from its beginning to where we are and where we want to go in the future. I might use a baseball hat to depict this was us when we started this company. We were enthusiastic. There was a lot of raw energy. We had a vision and we wanted to accomplish it. You then use a top hat to explain, this is us today. We're successful. We're making money. We have fulfilled the goals that we set out to accomplish, and we are proud of the work that we have done. Which brings us to today. The safari hat. This is where we are today. We're at a crossroads. We are working towards the future. We're not sure what this is going to look like, but we want you, the audience, to come on board and help us in these next steps so that we can expand our company to uncharted territory. So as you can see, each one of these hats represented a different aspect of the company and a different section of the speech. And it also helps the audience to engage and understand and picture what I was speaking about. So you may think, all right, prop sounds like a pretty good idea. Maybe I should integrate these into some of my speeches. So where do you find props? Well, one of the things you can do is just look around your house or your apartment for interesting and unusual items. I came across this brass bowl that I got when I was in India. Now I could talk about brass bowls, Or I could talk about my trip to India and how I acquired the bowl. Or if I was giving a speech on meditation, I might use this as a centering point. So even the same prop can be used in a variety of different ways. Another thing you can do is, as you're walking through your daily life experiences, just be observant and pay attention. You might be drawn to something very unique. I was at a variety store a while back, and I was at the counter. There happened to be a small box with these funny looking little chickens in it. I looked at it and I thought, that's quite interesting. Perhaps I could use that in a speech someday. So I purchased it. And eventually I wrote a speech called What Came First, the Chicken or the Egg? And every time I used the word chicken, I squeaked the chicken. You can imagine that this really drew the audience in. A couple other places that you can find props are at the Mark's closeout section or at the dollar store. For just a couple dollars, you can get a whole bag full of interesting props that could add dimension to your words. Now, if you've never done anything with props before, you might want to practice in front of the mirror or maybe in front of a family member to get familiar and feel more comfortable. Now, as we know, in life, it's like a roller coaster ride, good and bad, right and wrong. Well, that's true with props as well, because you see, once in a while, you can have prop failure, not crop failure, but prop failure. And what's that? It's when your props don't quite work the way you had visioned them to work. An example, I was giving a speech using a chart one time, and halfway through the speech, my words started to tumble and fall on the ground. Not exactly what I had planned, but I did learn, don't use that glue in future speeches. And another time I gave a speech where halfway through the speech, I ripped open my jacket to reveal a Superman emblem. Unfortunately, I hadn't pinned the emblem quite right. And so it started to hang there, and I kept trying to tuck it in my lapel as I continued with my speech. Again, not exactly how I had planned it. But think of Toastmasters as a laboratory where you practice and work out the kinks so that when you're giving a presentation at work, you can do it with a great quality. So remember also, you don't want to have too many props in your speech. You don't want this to be a three-ring circus or a juggling act. But fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests, I hope I've given you some ideas and ways to use props and how it can be effective in your speech. So I encourage each and every one of you to use at least one prop in your next speech. Madam Toastmaster.
Wonderful, Mary Ann. Timer, could we have 1 minute so that everyone can jot down their notes in preparation for the round robin evaluation, or to also private message or general message in the chat to give your kudos to Mary Ann.